So as our pinpoint webcam out of Holiday does show some clouds along the Wasatch Front, give us about another 2-3 hours from now, there'll be history and temperatures will start falling. You can see some of the dark clouds every now and again, indicative of some of those spots of precipitation over the higher elevations. That's going to fizzle with the setting sun, which is at 6:26 this evening. Even the wind will lay down. High pressure builds in terms of intensity across the basin this weekend, and with the steering flow, I'm going to arm you with some knowledge here, being clockwise around high pressure. That's going to send that moisture packing off to the north and east, so we stay high and dry. We'll probably see some of the high clouds coming in during the course of Sunday later this weekend, but for later tonight as we clear it out, watch for a little bit of fog and frost. No road accumulation on the major highways. Good news in that respect as we clear things out, get temperatures down to 30 degrees, but keep in mind, at least through tomorrow in those canyons that I just mentioned, we're still going to have those wind gusts. I'm calling hump day tomorrow a transition day from the brightness north to the snow shower south.
Time now for Utah's most accurate forecast. Weather rate certified 3 years running.
Hope you're not getting used to this warm weather outside because we got a storm heading our way.
A big storm system, Kim, and it has more than one variable in terms of dangerous weather that we're going to have to contend with. So while we certainly need the precipitation, when it comes to the wind, it is going to be huge. That's why I start you off with definition of a blizzard. It's an event that lasts a minimum of 3 hours, has sustained winds of 35 miles an hour or greater, and the visibility at or less than a quarter mile. We're going to meet at least the top two, if not even that third criteria, as we go through the nighttime hours and especially on in through Saturday morning. Right now, we're so far away from blizzard conditions, it's almost ridiculous. 60 degrees downtown Salt Lake. But the cold air is on the move. We could already see the wind picking up the pace at 20 miles an hour, but that's out of the west. Once that front rolls through, winds will shift out of the northwest. It'll push the moisture up into the mountains, and that's where we're going to see most of the damage from this impending storm system. Across the remainder of the state, the warmth is bottled up across the south, but we've already cooled things off into the high 40s once we head farther north along portions of I-15. Our storm tracker Doppler radar shows the precipitation developing out in advance of our latest cold front. There's not a whole lot reaching the ground just yet. The low layers of the atmosphere are moistening right now, but we are seeing a bit of light rain along the stretch west of Grantsville in Tooele County, off into Cache Valley at this hour, but snow levels are at about 7,000 feet right now across Cache Valley on into the Rich Mountains, and they will continue to lower as we go through the nighttime hours. And if that weren't enough, here comes the two-headed storm system. Cold front in from the northwest. It starts to slow down, not just tapping the brakes, but it'll hit them hard, and it will stall over the central part of the state. At the same time, it grabs the moisture with the area of low pressure from the four corners, and as the two converge, much like when you grab laundry and scoop it into your hands off the floor, what happens to the laundry? It rises. So much like the winds converge, that moist air rises and precipitation blossoms, and we are going to see a lot of it. Matter of fact, over the next 12 to 18 hours, we're looking at least 6 to 10 inches worth of snow along and south of Interstate 80. That's going to be in the higher elevations. Snow levels will come farther south. Even on the valley floor, we could see a little bit of mixed precipitation by daybreak. I don't think it's going to be able to accumulate on the roads given the recent warmth, but here's the bottom line. As snow continues to fall, we'll talk about a coating to an inch at 5,000 feet in the lower benches, but you get into the upper benches, 1 to 3 inches, the Wasatch back in at 3 to 6, and as much as 6 to 10 inches at 8,000 feet. Skiers and snowboarders love it, but be careful what you ask for. Because of that wind sustained in excess of 35 miles per hour, we will have problems on the lifts, to say the least. So while the avalanche danger is on a low to moderate note for the time being, 24 hours from now, Kim, this is going moderate to extreme, and this is going to be one of the detrimental parts of the weather that we're going to have to contend with.
So that avalanche danger is definitely going to go high. So even though skiers are getting this nice snow that we need, the wind and avalanches.
Exactly, and I get it. You want to go out and enjoy the fresh powder, but personally, I would want to wait especially, if you have a family going out to the slopes. Wait until Monday when it's bluebird conditions.
That's a good idea. All right, thanks, Jim.
Jim, it was a little chilly this morning. It started warming up with that sunshine. It's like weather where you can almost wear any outfit.
And you actually need a couple outfits to go from morning to afternoon, because we will have seasonably chilly mornings with temperatures in the 30s even as we head on into this upcoming weekend. But the afternoons will make up for it and then some. You can see that with our pinpoint webcam out of Erda right now. Blue skies abound. And as far as temperatures are concerned along the Wasatch Front, still running above average for this time of year. The average high 53, average nighttime low 33 degrees, running anywhere from 52 to 60. Just a little bit of a light breeze on occasion that'll settle down with the setting sun, which, by the way, just so happens to be at 7:32 this evening. 37 degrees downtown Salt Lake tonight under a crystal clear sky. As we've been mentioning, it's a near full moon. We're coming up to it in 2 days from now. Stars as well. So if you want to view that away from the city lights, just grab a jacket on the way out the door. But there are a couple of cold fronts headed our way. Part 1, Friday night, Saturday morning. A little bit of precipitation associated with it, but a beautiful, lustrous, sun-soaked weekend before cold front Part 2 arrives early next week. More on that in a bit from now. Nadia?
Time now for Utah's most accurate forecast. Weather rate certified, 3 years running.
Well, relatively tranquil across the Beehive State for the time being. The exception are some southern tier counties that we'll talk about in just a little bit from now. Our pinpoint webcam heads northbound across the Hiram State Reservoir. Look at that. 2 weeks ago, this was covered in ice. But given the recent push of warm air, there's no additional ice fishing across the state, that's for sure. Currently downtown Salt Lake, we're up at 60 degrees. Keep in mind the average high this time of year is 53. We're head over heels above that. We'll continue that trend for a couple more days before another cold front arrives on deck. Just a light breeze out of the north, by the way, at 12 miles per hour. Temperatures across the state looking mostly into the 50s. Some of the outliers, such as St. George, in at 64 degrees. And our friends on the Wyoming side coming in at 46 degrees for Green River as well as Rock Springs. But again, even that above average for this time of the year. As we've been mentioning so far this week, there is a minor storm system. This is the one that brought the 17 inches of snow to Alta earlier this week, settled down toward Vegas yesterday. Now it's pushing west to east across the state of Arizona on its northern flank. Higher train snow showers above 7,000 feet. And by the way, this is only through the first part of the nighttime hours. You get into the time frame 2, 3 a.m. tonight, all this is going to be shifted to the south and east. We could see a little bit of precipitation lingering over the Abajo, probably up toward daybreak, but even then it's going to be on the wane. Just some splash dash showers below 7,000 feet. And the reason why I say splash dash is because it's so dry on the valley floor. By the time the precipitation falls from the cloud deck into that drier air, a lot of it is evaporating, so we're not seeing much in terms of precipitation, that's for sure. Even out over the road toward Blanding and Bluff, mostly on a dry note for the time being. And when you look at the bird's eye perspective, once again, here's the center of that storm system down across Arizona. It scoots off to the east of the Four Corners over the next 18 hours, but farther to the north and west, here's part 1 of that cold front that I mentioned at the top of the hour. That arrives on deck during the wee hours of Saturday morning. Now, with the dry air in place over the northern valleys, we're going to be hard-pressed to pick up anything in terms of precipitation. If we do, it's probably just a sprinkle, maybe a passing flurry. But again, once you start getting up above 8,000 to 9,000 feet, especially over the north-facing slopes, given the direction coming in from the northwest, we could have as much as 1 to 3 inches of accumulation. Your pinpoint regional forecast before that cold front arrives, looking for more sunshine across Utah's Dixie up through Iron County. Temperatures into the 60s and 70s for the most part. But please, again, keep in mind, there's some seasonably chilly starts out there with temperatures primarily on into the 20s and 30s, but that sunshine, you look up with a pair of shades, and it'll definitely make up for it during the afternoon. Temperatures into the 50s for most locations. The Wasatch back on into the 50s, the Wasatch front into the 60s tomorrow, so another beautiful run on that. So if you have any outdoor plans, do me a favor and keep them. We'll probably see some late day high clouds, the cirrus, coming in to make for a beautiful sunset by day's end tomorrow. Cedar City and the Canyonlands too far removed from the storm track to pick up anything in terms of precipitation over the next 7 days. We'll talk about another storm system at the end of next week. So in the short term, we're 70 to 74 for daytime highs in St. George, 40s by night. Oh, the day of the Irish. Everybody's a little green that day on Monday. It's looking awesome across the area. Along the Wasatch Front, temperature up at 60 tomorrow. Cold front comes through. Little to no fanfare in terms of wet weather on the valley floor, but it will cool us slightly as we head on into Friday. If you're out and about 10 o'clock in the morning at Gateway for the St. Patrick's Day Parade, just keep in mind a little bit of a breeze. Temperatures in the 40s at that stage of the game. Next storm system that comes in Monday night into Tuesday. Once again, limited, if anything, in terms of valley precipitation. Most of it's going to be up in the higher elevations. So even if you have Monday off, St. Patrick's Day, I would certainly keep my outdoor plans. Best bet to get wet, and I'm talking about a soaker here, Brian, is going to be at the end of next week. So even though we're only 7 days removed from the official start of spring, that first full day, which would be next Friday, could get a little hairy for us.
Little wintry there on the first day of spring.
But the good news is we're in a progressive pattern. By that I mean storms will move from point A to point B. They're not going to stall. So these quick shots or storm systems would come in, produce the chill, and then they're hightailing it out of here.
All right, good news, Jim. Thank you.
Absolutely.